ASEAN Breakfast Call. First and foremost news from Southeast Asia.
Hey, this is Arlene.
Hi, this is Gowri.
And you're listening to Duran ASEAN, the voice of discovery and sharing. How are you? Today is the last day of the week. It's Friday.
Yes, it is, and I'm very excited. Friday is always the best day of the week.
I thought every day is the best day of the week.
Every day is exciting, but not exciting as Friday is. There's just something a little special about Fridays.
Well, this weekend will be a longer weekend because Monday will be Hari Raya Haji, or it will be the start of the Hajj pilgrim. And also there will be celebration of the Hajj pilgrimage where a bunch of cows and other poultries will be slaughtered.
You're slaughtering cows and you're telling me that?
Okay, good. That's fine, right? Good.
That's okay. That's not against my religion or anything. So
it's against?
Not cows though.
Not cows.
We love cows.
I love all animals actually. We should be vegetarian. Like if there's a time where we can revolutionize Hari Raya Haji, it will be a vegetarian Hari Raya Haji instead of slaughtering animals. Although it's somehow a core symbol of that particular celebration, but
we can just be vegetarians to voice our protest against slaughtering of animals.
Any animals in that fact. And talking about animals, nothing related to animals actually, but it's about our standing in the ASEAN Games. Apparently, we won another goal, which is the karate goal. But we also lose another goal, which is the controversial over the wushu.
Yes,
category.
And our sports minister, Gowri, of course, did try and appeal for it. He said that he is not certain about the way that the test was conducted, the way the samples were brought to the place of the test, and the way the whole thing was just carried out. He said there was something fishy there, and he appealed to get for them to reconsider the results of the test. But unfortunately, the news came out this morning that we lost the doping appeal, so their result remains. We are one medal short now.
But we added one medal in the category of Asian Games, so I guess that's fair and square. At the same time, it is still somehow a trauma to Malaysia because in the past, it's very rarely or perhaps never at all when it comes to Malaysians being tested positive for taking drugs prior to any sports.
It is a first for us, and it's very shocking. And well, Gowri did try everything that he could, but unfortunately it did not work out, and he
was questioning the time of the testing because it was 16 hours after they taken the sample from her. So he was questioning that could it be tainted, the sample itself, but of course the committee felt that their judgment is right, so they didn't accept the appeal. Anyway, regarding on Facebook makes peace with gay over real names. What is that title?
So what happened here is Facebook insisted that everyone use their real names. So if you are a transgender person, and let's say you're female, but you really feel like you're a male, so naturally you come up with a different name. So Facebook did not allow that in the past. So they said if you're a female, you put your female name. I don't care if you feel like you're more of a guy, or if you're a guy and you feel like you're more of a girl. They didn't really care. They just wanted everyone's real names, which stirred up quite a controversy. Because when you feel like you're something else, you come up with a different name, something that fits your whole identity. And Facebook wasn't being too sensitive about that.
People are not comfortable with their identity being molded by social media like Facebook. Facebook is supposed to be this free and open space where people can express their own identity online and also, of course, express their opinion. Of course, as well, not all identity are real identities, but that's not part of the problem. The problem is why you need to control over a person's identity through their names. A matter of fact, it's not just those who are gay or transsexual that cannot change their name to a female name, or from a female name to a male, or male to female. But even my own name, I cannot put my full name because Facebook think that is a fake name for some reason.
Because there are 3 names. Is that it? Because they are following the American structure of first name and last name.
Probably, but I felt like that's my name. I'm proud of my name. So because my name is short of one word, people assume that I'm from one particular race, but in reality I'm mixed. Mm-hmm. And the only way to know I'm mixed is to have my full name.
Right, but Facebook has apparently revoked that, so maybe you can try again later and see what happens.
Let me try later.
Well, supposedly they have made peace with these people, with the real names, so it shouldn't be an issue anymore.
Mm-hmm. So, things that haven't been made peace is about our education. Unfortunately, Dr. Mahathir, after long, almost a decade, he has left politics. He's no longer in politics, although he's still a member of UMNO, but he's still very much a prominent leader, to the extent that he was calling for PPSMI to be brought back or get left behind. This is in relations to Malaysians' standard of English. What is amazing about Dr. Mahathir, or Tun Mahathir, after he has left politics for a decade, his voice still matter.
But he never really left, though. If we really look at it, every time our former ministers after Mahathir make some move, he always voiced out his opinion, and he's somehow always on the radar, still telling people what he thinks. He even recently criticized our Prime Minister Najib Tun Razak, and now he's speaking about the PPSMI, which is another issue that we've been going back and forth over the years. You know, it's in English for 1 year, it's in Malay, then it's back in English, it's back in Malay. It's time to come up with a solid conclusion. Do we want it in English or do we want it in Malay?
But the education blueprint that the government has already tabled in the midst of implementing it want to focus in improving English, just that the way it tries to improve English is not through packages like PPSMI, but more through trainings and extra classes and all that. So it is a bit difficult to implement PPSMI, considering that not just race and religion, but language has become one of the major controversy in this country.
And the last time they revoked it, they used this excuse that people the students in the rural areas had trouble coping with English. But if they have trouble, then you do something about it. You don't just say, okay, let's just cancel PPSMI because some people are having trouble with English. Because Dr. M has a very good point here when he says, Dr. M, yeah.
Sounds like a superhero.
Sounds like a movie character. But he does have a good point when he said the whole world, almost a majority of the world, they're using science and math in English. And if we want to send our
even countries like
overseas,
South Korea.
Right. And we have to be on par with them if we really want to compete internationally. We really want to put Malaysia out there and be able to compete globally. We have to master it the right way to do it to do science and math in English.
Of course, there are other opinions where they are against PPSMI because there are a few reasons. One of it is English is a language that should be mastered not through sciences or mathematics education, but through literature or English specific courses or subjects. But for there are other voices that think that by learning English, you are undermining your mother tongue language. So that's another controversy that the government wants to avoid. And it's during Muhyiddin Yassin's period as the education minister, he still is, nevertheless, he believed that it is better to put a stop and just to focus on Malay, making Malay as the main language of instruction for all for all subjects except for English language, and to strengthen the English language subject itself.
But there is really no such thing as English undermining our mother tongue or Malay to speak about it. Although we speak English a lot, it doesn't mean that we cannot speak Malay or we understand Malay any less. We can still speak it, we can still understand it. It's probably more of an insecurity thing, because at the end of the day, we're all Malaysians and we know our official language. We do give it the importance that it needs.
Perhaps if you want to look at a bigger picture, it's not English that is undermining other mother tongue languages as well as the national language. It is the fact that the whole system itself is too weak, that nowadays, regardless you are a Malay speaker or Chinese or even Tamil, somehow the standard of our language fluency, I'm not even talking about English, it has dropped tremendously. If you can go and ask any students anything about literature, culture and arts, you can use whatever mother tongue language, they would not be able to master it strongly. So it's not about one language undermining other language, it's all languages, the mastery of all languages in Malaysia has been very, very weak.
And this is also, of course, in line with what Dr. M recently said, that in order to be a high-income earning nation, we need to focus on science and
we are tired with the word high-income nation. We will never be a high-income nation. We should focus more on creating a nation that is not necessarily high income. You don't have to earn $1 million a year, but a nation that is balanced and prosperous. And being prosperous doesn't mean you have to be a developed nations like the US with high consumption. It's not necessary with that focus. But of course, the government has their own focus. So that is their way of understanding the education system.
So should we bring PPSMI back? Our vote is yes. And let us know what you think. Should we bring PPSMI back? Should we revert back to English?
My stand is maybe.
Okay.
And another issue that is facing other countries in Southeast Asia, one of it is Indonesia. Jokowi haven't even started his presidency, but he's already being given a huge mandate and a huge battle, of course, waiting ahead of him. Just like Obama, people have high hope on him, but whether he can deliver a promise or not is not easy to give an answer to that. But he's definitely a breath of fresh air. And just to recap that, Jokowi is facing uphill battle as opponents secure key position in Indonesia's parliament. Whether it's a good thing or bad thing, I'm not sure. But what is obvious is Indonesia's democracy is definitely more vibrant than other Southeast Asian nations.
A lot of critics are actually quite concerned about this move, because they said that they thought the presidential election was the end of all the oligarchs, end of all the issues that Indonesia was facing. But now that this has happened, that his opponents actually have more seats in parliament, and not only that, the parliament also apparently has the power to impeach the president whenever they want. So that seems like, although he's a fresh breath of air for the politics of Indonesia, he might not be able to deliver all his promises and make all the changes because of how the current law works.
Mm-hmm. And the crucial head of committee positions have not yet been selected, but are also expected to be taken by the majority coalition, including the heads of the budget and legislative committees and the ethics council. The committee heads are disproportionately powerful in the Indonesian parliament because most decisions are the result of closed-door deal-making in the forum before they are rubber-stamped by the parliament. Indonesian politics is definitely different from Malaysia. Doesn't make it any more transparent. It's still very much a closed-door deal even though it's much, I would say the democracy is much more vibrant.
And apart from that, of course, it seems Jokowi is already facing a lot of pressure for left, right, and center, and also all these different tactics or different ways that it works in Indonesia, and he might be given a very hard time, especially if he doesn't start delivering his promises right away. People will start bashing him as opposed to going back to the parliament or to find out what is really the hindering block over there.
One of the most famous think tanks in Indonesia is the CSIS, or Center for Strategic and International Studies. The political analyst Philip Vermont said that I thought the presidential election was the end of the oligarch, but in fact it was premature to say that. Recent developments show that they are consolidating.
We were all premature to say that. We were all having very high hopes that Jokowi is the new president. He has an entirely different approach. He was new. He was very different, and people did kind of put all their eggs in one basket in terms of Jokowi. But that those eggs might get broken now in the light of this news.
People always assume democracy is an easy word just because you have a vibrant democracy, a vibrant civil society, and a fair election doesn't mean it's democratic. At the end of the day, who make the decision is more important. If the decision is made in a sense that it is closed door, it's not transparent, and a lot of party involved that are one-sided, then even though a leader might be democratically elected, it is still not a democracy. And another country that is facing a democratic being questionable, recently there's a huge mass civil disobedience happening in Hong Kong, and they are forcing the Hong Kong leader to resign, but Leong Chun-yin, the Hong Kong leader, said that he will not resign and he will not accede to protest demand to him for him to resign.
And apart from that, he also said that the protest is actually seriously affecting Hong Kong's economy and government functions and could not be allowed to continue anymore. So
isn't that obvious?
Looking at it from an entirely different angle here.
Isn't that obvious? Any protest will definitely have an economic consequences on it, but doesn't mean it's wrong. Protest is just a way of life to show that you are not happy with certain decision making. In South Korea, protests happen every now and then because it's part of the Korean culture to be democratic and to voice out your opinion, but doesn't mean it is undermining the long-term Korean economy. So for Hong Kong long-term economy, it's not the fault of the protester, it's the fault of its politics.
And he has asked his top civil servant to hold talks with these protesters to have a dialogue to find out what do they really want. But it's very clear what they actually want. And it's just a matter of whether or not can they actually give the people what they want. It's not the matter of what do they want anymore.
The fact that China is not backing out also. China hasn't been releasing any statement to say that they understand the needs of the protester. In fact, they deem the protest itself as illegal activity, and they still feel that the decision of having the power to choose the nominees for Hong Kong's political leaders is their rights. Their right to do that. Another country that is facing not so much on the political side, although it is we understand that their political regime has very much transit into militarization and nothing can be done about it. But at the same time, they are also very worried about building ASEAN infrastructure because it says that it could ruin Thailand.
This is actually the first negative news concerning ASEAN in terms of countries participating in ASEAN itself. Because all this while we were really focused on our ASEAN 2015, where we're all going to be an integrated community where we're all going to come together as one. But it seems that that may have some downsides too, especially for some countries, not just Thailand. Probably even if we were to look at it, countries like Myanmar who are still picking up, Vietnam, Cambodia. So they are afraid that these countries might turn out to be like Portugal when Portugal joined the European Union back then.
Mm-hmm. What happened to Portugal that was really, really bad?
When Portugal joined the EU, they were kind of pressured to keep up with all the other countries. So because of that, Portugal actually overspent way too much in order to build up the infrastructure of the country, and mostly on infrastructure, and their economy was not able to keep up with the others in the EU, so eventually it just dropped out. It had to bail out of EU.
This is what being warned by former ASEAN Secretary General Surin Pitsuwan. In order to take its rightful place in the new Asian economy, the Thai government is being told to implement major infrastructure projects, or else the ASEAN connectivity plan might fail. The thing is, if you go to ASEAN official website, there's nothing much that is being shared on what is ASEAN connectivity. The plan itself is very much vague, and for Malaysia and the rest of Southeast Asia to achieve the ASEAN Economic Community 2015, when a lot of information are still not being cleared, it is hard to predict how it would be. Of course, the cost part will be one of the earlier indicators to show that this could ruin not just Thailand but majority of the countries in Southeast Asia, considering that the government, this is just the government of Thailand, has earmarked 2.5 trillion Thai bahts to upgrade the country's infrastructure. And this investment is aimed to enhance Thailand's position on the ASEAN Economic Community next year.
And also we had a little discussion yesterday about all these developed countries, and it came up that most of it is from the debt. And of course, if all these countries were to keep up with the developed countries, they will have to resort to debt as well, because their own income, their own GDP is not enough to sustain these projects. And for us to, in terms of connectivity, of course, for Malaysia, as it is, we're already having problem with Singapore, having this debate about the causeway, whether or not there should be a toll. But Thailand is pretty close to us. And what about the other countries who are beyond our reach? And if we were to keep up, we were to level up with Singapore, of course, that will take a huge amount of money, and it may not end well for not just us, for most of the countries.
Building
here.
of infrastructure would definitely take a huge chunk of the GDP and other revenue of the nation. And for Malaysia, of course, we are embarking, the closest that kind of investment on infrastructure would be the Greater KL. If you look around, a lot of construction work is going around KL. That would be the MRT, and MRT and other infrastructure and other forms of infrastructure, and also public transportation will be part of the ASEAN connectivity. Of course, the most obvious ASEAN connectivity that we have in Southeast Asia is the removal of visa. You can travel all over Southeast Asia except for maybe Myanmar without the need of visa, and with the opening up of countries' skyline, and also air travel shows that it will only increase more and more tourists to come to Southeast Asia. So with that, that's all for our news today. Unfortunately, we are at the end of time. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, if you're on the move, just download our TuneIn app on your smartphone and look for Durian ASEAN.
Stay tuned.